So, this is my hot take on birth control and what you can do to empower your experience of going to the doctors and working out what's right for you. So, my name is Victoria Bardovich, and I'm the director of Yoni Elixir. I've been a somatic sexologist for over 9 years now, and I have listened to many women have their experience with birth control and the disempowerment that comes with that. And something that I'm really passionate about is exploring what's possible for women in this experience. Where I've got to now for myself has been when I was 16, before I even had any sexual intercourse with anybody, my doctor put me on a pill to prevent my acne. And as soon as I went onto this pill, I ended up feeling like there was a weight gain around my hips. My acne actually got worse, so I stopped taking that very quickly. I'm not a big fan of the pill and have learned in later years that this really throws out women's hormones and also stops them from bleeding. For me, anything that stops me from bleeding is a fuck no for me. The next thing that I tried after that was the Implemil. This was something that they like sliced a little line in my arm and then they placed inside. This actually was the worst one I ever did. And at the time, I thought it was great. There was no side effects. And then the side effects came in later. I ended up experiencing hair growth on these sides of my chin, like quite thick, bristly hair. And they said to me that perhaps I had polycystic ovaries. I went and got tested. I did not have this. I also didn't have any weight gain, like a lot of people that do experience polycystic ovaries experience. So yeah, that was really traumatic for me. And I just remember going to the doctors and being like, this is because of the Implanon. And I finally got looking at the different side effects, and there was a list like this long on this computer screen, and one of them was facial hair. So this was actually very life ruining for me, as you can imagine, as a teenager. This was when I was like 18, basically growing a beard and having to deal with that. And I then spent a lot of money, and still do, getting laser treatment to just make sure that I keep that in check, because I personally don't want to have facial hair growing on my face. So yeah, that one was probably the worst. And then the next one I did after that was the coil. So the coil was something they put inside. It's like a little T-bar. They put it up inside of the cervix, and it just sits there. And this was something that I tried. And the first one I did, I actually had no problem with. This one was, I was like, okay, I want hormone free now because I'm not growing any more beards. And they said to me, right, this one's hormone free. Trial this thing out. Put this one in. I had no problems with it, and I wasn't getting pregnant, so it seemed like a good thing. Um, 5 years went past. I had this thing in my body for 5 years. And then I went and got a second one of these coils. And this time they said to me, like, you don't need to get a 5-year one. You can actually have a 10-year one if you want. I said, well, I don't think I want to have a baby anytime soon. So let's go for the 10-year. I put the 10-year one inside of my body, and I knew straight away this was not okay for my body. The first period I had, I never usually get any period pains, my bleed was fairly regular. This was and my bleed would only last for like 2.5 days. This went into my body, and then my bleed was like super painful as I was cramping and experiencing a lot of pain on the way into it. And then when I did bleed, it was like going over like a little bit of blood over 10 days, as if it couldn't leave my body. So it was like this stagnancy inside of my body, and I was getting quite extreme PMS, which I'd never experienced before, and just feeling really agitated because it was like it just wouldn't leave. The experience was just horrible. I told them straight away they wouldn't take it out for me. It took them 6 months to agree to take it out. Even though I paid for this thing, even though, like it was obviously not going to work for me, they said that I should trial it for another 5 months after that. Anyway, so I went through 6 months of excruciating pain. When I eventually had it taken out, I was getting really, really sick. I was also vegan at the time, so this didn't help my cause. But I went and got my iron checked, and my iron was incredibly low. I started looking into the side effects of the coil, and particularly because this one is a copper coil because it's not hormonal, and the 10-year one was really strong for my body. And I'd had this obviously coil, and I was vegan for 5 years before this. And I had no issues with my iron levels, and all of a sudden I had this one in for 6 months, and because of the strength of the copper, I believe, it actually repels iron. This thing, so it's like my body couldn't absorb any iron because this copper was repelling it through my body. So that was a discovery I made after I had that out. And then I actually had to go, but I went back to eating meat after that, because just to try to move heal my body through that experience, because it was so detrimental to my health. And where did I go after that? So after that, I was like, never fucking again. I didn't want any more contraceptions in my body after this experience. So I just let it go, got rid of it. And I came into the experience of like, okay, I'm just going to trust that. I'm going to use condoms from here on out. And if I have unprotected sex, it will be around my period. And I started tracking my period really rigidly, and not just in one way. I started tracking it through a physical calendar, so like the moon days, and just like tracking when it comes. I did this for about 4 years. And I also did two different apps. One was Natural Cycles. So I did the thermometer. I didn't really notice that the thermometer was really measuring that much difference, and I felt like it wasn't really accurate for me. So I stopped doing that one after a while. But I also was doing Clue, and I've been doing Clue app for the whole time I've done over the last 6 years. So now I have a very accurate gauge from this Clue app when my period is going to come and what is normal for me. So it's got 6 years of data around me, and it also tells me what is my average bleed, what I can expect when I'm ovulating, all these different things. And because it's been tracking it for so long, it's been very accurate. And I haven't had any unwanted pregnancies because of this experience. So for me, there was just a sense of like what would actually happen if women really trusted and knew their cycles so deeply from the moment that they actually bled. Would they be able to actually have a more empowered experience of knowing when they were ovulating and knowing when they were bleeding? And for me, in the tracking of that, I've really been able to see like a big difference in, the particular discharges that happen through the month. So in ovulation, there's a lot more wetness, there's a lot more creamy color, and then also through the dryingness before I bleed. So it's like obviously knowing when I'm going to bleed as well is super useful if I'm traveling, or if I want to make love and I want to not use a condom. All these things are super helpful for me. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to recommend anything to you at the fear of whether you do get pregnant or not. But what I will say is just like, it is okay to trust your body. I feel like the pharmaceutical companies are really pushing us to say, you can't trust your body and you need to get this pill and you need to do this. And it's like, this is actually a lot of fear mongering. And if we come back to that innate knowing of our body, and we're tracking what's going on in our underwear, we're tracking how we feel in our body, and we're building a deeper relationship to the natural cycles of life, you will actually learn how to read your body in a way that you can trust your body. And recommending using condoms as a part of that process so that you can keep your body free of hormones, free of other parts, things that are impacting your weight, your body, your skin in these different ways. So, yeah, I hope this empowers you to make some powerful decisions for yourself and keep researching and keep finding out what's going to be suitable for you. All right, thanks so much.